Pierpont is a small community located in Assumption Parish. The town is almost completely surrounded by water. Its locals have used those waters to make a living for generations, but now it's becoming harder and harder to keep their way of life.
We are in the heart of not Cajun country, but it's pretty darn close. The culture's changing. We used to have moms who stayed home. We used to have people living off of the land. We had people with, skill sets that we don't have anymore. Time was slower. They had time to sit and visit on Sundays. Like, I remember my grandpa being upset because we wouldn't stop and visit. Because on Sundays, it was the Lord's Day, it was a day of rest, and that was here for a really long time. We actually got together and we caught up before the week of work or the week ahead of us, knowing that your family was behind you. And now we don't always make time or have time to do that anymore.
The town has a strong French influence that to this day is still being challenged.
It's crazy. This place Pierpont started out speaking French, and the children were almost laughed at, looked down upon, and I guess they were made to almost look dumb if they didn't use the English language. There's a lot of elders, I feel like, in the community holding on, gripping, like, no, don't lose this.
Pierpont isn't the only inland community to face a threat to their culture. A nearby town in Iberville Parish called Bayou Sorrel is home to Cajun culture and a down-the-bayou way of life.
People talk about Louisiana culture. This is like the real culture, like real food and stuff like that. Go down the street and jump the levee and get in a boat and pick you some blackberries, catch you some fish, catch you a sack of bugs, a ball up. It's all really a natural place.
A big industry in the Bayou Sorrel area that has been impacted by the land loss is the crawfish industry.
Not as what it used to be, a lot of swamp changes a lot over the years. We got a lot of silt, comes down, and just a lot of swamp disappearing. You can't, some places it's hard bottom ground, where you used to fish nets and fish crawfish, it's kind of like a dying thing, You got to pay a lot to make a lot, pretty much now. You got to have a pretty good bit of money to start. If you even thought about starting, you already had to have a good bit of money. But yeah, it's just not what it used to be at all. We can't rely on a season every year of crawfishing or running nets or anything like that. It's just not reliable anymore.
The crawfish industry isn't the only thing changing in the Bayou Sorrel area. They've seen a gain in the alligator population, which has been causing major issues.
The influx in the alligator population, I'd have to say, is a big thing around here. When I was a little kid, just right here, you wouldn't see hardly any. And the past 10 years is just exploded. I wish somebody would do something about it. Maybe, even like in some states they have where you can get a few tags with your hunting license, just to get the population down a little bit. It's terrible. I used to frog hunt all up and down through right here, and can't hardly go out in a boat and catch any. We're getting stronger storms because we have our coastline, I guess, used to block a lot of that. We get a lot more storm surge here.
Since the increase in more powerful storms and the loss of industry, Bayou Sorrel has struggled the last 10 to 15 years to keep its community to stay.
There are no real stores. They have a few gas stations, but other than that, there's no really job opportunities besides work on the water, which would be the crawfishing and fishing. And I know a lot of people that used to do that for a living, but they can't afford to anymore. They have to have another job on the side. We used to go crabbing a lot with my grandpa, but the crabs just aren't really there anymore, and it's not worth all the money it takes to buy the traps and to buy all the supplies. By the time you buy all that, you aren't getting enough crabs to even cover your costs. So many people moving away. When I was little, we were a tight-knit community and you knew everybody there. And now a lot of the kids that grew up have just moved on. Like, I've moved away. A lot of the people I knew of moved away, and now it's a lot of strangers that live there or people that are just there that have camps.
Some of the community has also been leaving the area because of the rising water levels. Some even lost their homes and had to flee.
My grandparents, when they first bought their house, had a lot of land, and now over the years they've lost over 3/4 of an acre due to the erosion. So my grandma, when she was growing up, her house used to be really close to the bayou bank, and now over the time with erosion, that where she lived is no longer there. It's completely gone. And my parents, they have a camp, and due to the erosion, the bayou keeps getting closer and closer to their camp. And last year it flooded, and the flood was so bad, it flooded in April, and they really weren't able to get to their camp without the use of a kayak or a boat until September. Even the churches, we had a church in Saul and a church in Pigeon, which is a few minutes away from Saul, and because the numbers of people living there were so low, the church in Pigeon is now a heritage hall, and the church in Saul was privately sold, so there's no Catholic churches anymore.
Even through the pain of the fleeting culture, residents of Pierpont and Bayou Sorrel are hopeful for the future.
We have to keep sharing recipes and meeting up together and talking about how simple life used to be, and I think try to gravitate more back that way instead of the rushing that we go through in a day.
I'm hoping more people start moving back there, people with young kids, to build the community back up and for it to become a place that people want to be.